Taking mushrooms has become a favorite activity of mine. However, the first time I experienced a trip was actually by accident. Many years ago, I was a young college student chilling out at my boy's beach house. He and his bandmates were practicing music for a show. While my much more talented friends were doing their thing, I sat in the bedroom, smoking a joint and playing Call of Duty. As it always happens, the munchies started to hit me, and they hit hard. I went to the kitchen to find something to eat. When I opened the fridge, I saw it was full of an impressive yet intimidating assortment of ingredients that would require me to cook, which, even now, at the ripe age of 35, is still beyond my skill set. I scanned the shelves for some easy-to-grab snacks, but found nothing. I begrudgingly let the fridge door go and turned around. But my despair was short-lived, as I was greeted by a sight almost too good to be true. Right there, in the middle of the kitchen counter, was a plate full of chocolate brownies. I walked over to them, admiring the tight plastic, gently hugging the precious treasure it protected. I wondered, could these be for some event? Maybe someone's mom needed them for her office party. Maybe there was a holiday where some alternative version of Santa visits beach houses in the spring. I decided there could be no harm in taking just one brownie. After all, there were at least a dozen brownies on the plate. I carefully unfurled the plastic from the tray and was greeted warmly by the fresh smell of baked goodness. I actually paused and closed my eyes and imagined I was in some Disney movie where the scent is animated through my nostrils. I picked the smallest brownie I saw, still unsure of just how important these treats might be to someone else. It tasted a bit weird. I couldn't point out what it was exactly, but it was like taking a bite out of a chicken covered in chocolate. I finished the brownie in 2 bites and came to the conclusion that maybe if I ate a bit slower, I'd be able to decipher what I was tasting. So I took another brownie and then one more. Realizing I had now polished off a significant portion of the plate, I began to panic and started rearranging the brownies on the plate to try to make it look full again. I collected a can of iced tea from the fridge and began to head back to the bedroom for my Call of Duty revenge. But then the thought of a road brownie came to me. I decided one more could do no harm. After all, whoever had made 12 brownies could easily make 4 more. So, with a brownie in one hand and an iced tea in the other, I exited the kitchen. Walking along the downstairs corridor, I was faced with a decision. The bedroom was upstairs to the right, but suddenly the stairs seemed too daunting to climb. The sitting room to the left was eerily dark and disturbed me as well. So, I decided to continue onwards through the front door and see what was on the other side. As I opened the door and stepped out onto the porch, I noticed everything outside was black and white. Or maybe more accurately, everything was gray. For some reason, this didn't strike me as odd in the least, and I decided to find my way to the beach and pretend I was in some All the Small Things music video. Now, seeing as how I was at a beach house, this should have been an easy task. But the front of the building was on a normal street, like any other street, while it was the back that connected to the beach. But the concept of direction was one that I didn't grasp in this moment, and I dared to not go back inside the house of color, difficult video games, and funny tasting brownies. So I did the next logical thing. I walked down the road. Now, in full honesty, the rest of the story is not completely interesting, mostly because I was alone and not only tripping, but completely unaware that I was tripping. Remember, at that point, I didn't know much about mushrooms at all, let alone have any experience with them. I do remember 3 things from that night. I remember that while eating the 4th brownie, I wondered if all brownies had always tasted this way. Maybe this was how brownies tasted when they came from nature. Maybe other brownies were sweetened by man-made chemicals, but actual wild brownies had more sustenance. Maybe brownies are like bananas and have evolved over time, hard to recognize from what they once were. Secondly, I remember my heart racing fast, and I mean fast. I remember feeling every beat of it as if it was literally bursting through my chest. Again, I became a Disney character with a heart-shaped thumping through my body. And lastly, I remember when the world of gray I was walking in suddenly became illuminated by the brightest Christmas tree I had ever seen. The fact that this was all happening in April didn't matter to me. What mattered is that there was a huge Christmas tree in front of me, and I had eaten a substantial portion of the brownies intended for Santa. So I did the only natural thing I could have done in that moment. I decided to repent. I sat cross-legged on the ground and sang, "Oh, Christmas Tree." Now, I have no idea how long I was sitting there singing, and I don't even know exactly what else I could have been saying, because the only lyrics of that song I actually know, even while sober, are in fact, "Oh, Christmas Tree." What I do know is that my friends at some point realized I was gone and decided to trek down the road and found me sitting in front of the street lamp. They brought me back to the house, told me I had eaten shroom brownies, and that was the first time I tried mushrooms.